Right, building on the various presentations that we've had, I'm going to concentrate on the food and drink manufacturing part and highlight some of the initiatives and activities that are going on in the world of skills and professional development. So my name is Bertrand Emond. I'm Head of Membership and Training at Camden BRI. Camden BRI is a commercial provider of technical support to the whole of the agri-food chain, so across the whole scope of the ATP. We provide a wide range of support services, research, analysis, consultancy, information, and of course, training. We focus on the four key areas, and these key areas are key success factors for the industry: safety, quality, efficiency, and innovation. Help people to produce safe food, manage their quality, make sure they've got efficient operations, and then they can innovate in terms of products, packaging, and processes. We're a membership-based organization, and we work for well over 2,000 member companies, ranging from very small businesses to very large multinationals. So we can see the challenges that companies of various sizes have as well in terms of training their staff and developing their businesses. 400 people across 3 sites with extensive facilities. As I mentioned, we work with a very wide range of companies covering the whole food chain. And we are in constant discussions and developing programs for all these various companies. But there's one constant message that comes through all the time, is the significant shortage of fit-for-purpose staff. And there are various reasons for this. And the ones that come through from discussing this with our members, the industry is not attracting enough new blood, and Lee's talked about some of the initiatives on the farming side. People are retiring with the loss of expertise that's associated with this. Problem of availability, and I think you mentioned it, some courses are just not there, so to train people. And sometimes problem of awareness, just being aware of what's around. Because you probably gathered from the various presentations this morning, there's all sorts of things going on, all sorts of acronyms being mentioned. You probably don't know half of them, so you just say, hey, yes, it's nice, but we just don't know what's going on. So it's being aware of what's going on and what's suitable for your business and your staff. And the other big one, the fourth one here, is the cost hurdle. And also, have to be honest, is the willingness to develop existing staff. And some people are very nervous about investing in their own staff, knowing that they might leave. The cost hurdle is a big one. Number of reasons there. You've got less and less free training available. A few years ago, you had quite a lot of initiatives going on, but the government spend cut and so on. Some of the free training has disappeared. The ATP one is a great one, which is not free as such, but highly subsidized, which is good news. Also, in terms for the food companies, is the ability to invest when under pressure, to reduce cost. You have to reduce cost. Am I going to spend some money and invest in these people at this moment in time? So it's the short-term pain for the long-term gain game there. And we mentioned it, proving cost benefits and return of investment of training, which is a little bit of a hot potato, and how you can actually have some hard data to show that I've invested all this money, all these resources, in the right kind of training. What do I get out of it? Now, there's actually a significant body of evidence that has been gathered and is growing to prove the benefits of training and investing in staff. And the Scotland Food and Drink Skills Academy report in last year did an extensive review of this, and it's a no-brainer. You've got people are happier, motivated, more efficient, innovative, more profitable. So there's plenty of evidence there that it is a no-brainer to invest in staff. I've also lifted 2 of my favorite quotes when it comes to training. So the only thing worse than training good employees and losing them is not training your employees and keeping them. And the other one here, if you think training is expensive, try ignorance and stagnation. But I think they're quite 2 powerful messages, and some people have that at the bottom of their emails just to remind themselves and their colleagues that this is critical. If we look at a typical food manufacturing operation, you have that classic triangle shape where you have a few senior people here and a very large base of sort of more junior employees. The base here also tends to be a lot more very exotic and very diverse in terms of a very wide range of abilities there, and it's a challenge when it comes to training this base here. and the language abilities, people ability to read and write is a key challenge for when it comes to training the workforce on that base here. Now, this is not a static situation. You have a flow of people going through that company. You've got new graduates coming in, you've got young people coming in, other people coming from other industries, from other countries, and then you've got coming out, you've got people retiring, people moving to other industries or other countries, and you've got people moving around the organization. So that's the churn within the business. Obviously is a challenge when it comes to training and justifying investment when you have a big churn of people. But having said that, if you invest in training, it's been shown that the loss in the churn is minimized if you invest in your people. If you look at the types of training that are going on when we discuss this with our members, there are three main types. You've got the compliance type of training that usually goes on towards the base here. So that's your health and safety, your basic food hygiene, things you have to do to comply with the law. Then you move on to the middle bit here, where it's more to do with competency, being very knowledgeable, being an expert in one particular topic, maybe to do with a particular technology like canning, or with a packaging issue, or to do with microbiology or chemistry or whatever. So that's more on the competency side. And then you've got the top end bit here, which tend to involve more the people at the top end of the pyramids, which have to do with competitive advantage. And obviously the ATP fits neatly in that category here. So you've got these three types of training. I've put culture here because it's the importance of having the right culture. Because you might send all these people training, but if they come back and want to introduce change, can you actually cope with that? Or are you able to provide them with a mentoring or coaching for them to embed all this new knowledge in your company? Because you might come back with loads of ideas and you want to change things, but if you have the resistance that, oh no, we don't want to change this, as a company, how do you make sure that when Amy comes back, it actually can be implemented and used to the best effect? So soft skills, hard skills, and that's quite a challenge for companies as well. In terms of the sources where people can get training, there are many sources of training from universities, colleges, in-house. Enforcement officers are quite a useful source of training for, in particular, the smaller businesses. The supply chain as well, ingredient suppliers and so on, e-learning platforms on the job, and obviously commercial training providers like Camden. So quite a diverse landscape here. So if we zoom out and look at what's going on in the UK, quite a few of these names have been mentioned this morning, but I just tried to map them out across the food chain here. We mentioned DEFRA this morning, the NFU, obviously. The Food and Drink Federation is also involved in this. The IGD, the Institute of Grocery Distribution, is involved. And then at the top here, you've got the food chains actually serviced by 5 sector skills council: Lantra, Improve, Skills for Logistics, Skills Smart, and People First. And on the food and drink manufacturing side, we have Improve, the Food and Drink Skills Council, which is supposed to find out what the skills the employers need, and discussion with government and so on, create some qualification and learning frameworks here that the National Skills Academy for Food and Drinks delivers through a network of training providers, and you have an approved network of approved training providers like Camden, and then you've got this virtuous circle here. So that's going on here with Improve, but that's going on with all the other ones. Now there's been some big changes across the Sector Skills Council because of the loss of funding. Some of the core funding has disappeared, so there's also the jostling around. Some of the boundaries are blurring a bit, so there's this movement across, and all these guys have been forced to talk to each other and work together because the money is sort of getting scarcer, so they have to work together and they have to bid. It's open bidding now to get the funding, so there's a lot of competition between all of them. Now, there's also some very interesting reports that have come out from all these guys working together, all the parties here, including the NFU, and the very good report to read about the skills situation across the food supply chain, where you got an overview of what's going on, the current skills needs, the future ones, and some of the solutions that have been developed. And there's always an action plan, so there's obviously a carefully planned action plan here, so that's worth looking at as well, because there's all sorts of activities, and I will highlight some of them as I go along. Lee mentioned some of the apprenticeship that's going on also on the food and drink manufacturing side, and there's a big target of creating over 50,000 apprenticeship training opportunities, and you've got the IGD pledge. Institute of Grocery Distribution, you've got the Food and Drink Federation pledge, and regularly you've got companies saying, oh, I'm going to create 1,000 apprenticeship, and the other one say, oh, I'm going to create 2,000. So there's quite a lot of PR being used as well there to show that people are investing in apprenticeship in their businesses, so we need to make the most of that. In terms of the food and drink manufacturing being a career of choice, picking up in parallel with what Lee was saying was happening on the farming side. There's all sorts going on here. Improve the Sector Skills Council's got this Tasty Career initiative with all sort of awe-inspiring case studies, about 30 of them. They've got a list of ambassadors also visiting schools, try to get the children to actually get excited about a career in the food and drink industry. Improve has produced a report as well on barriers to UK nationals entering the food and drink manufacturing industry workforce, which is quite an interesting document. It's worth having a look at. All the initiatives, the Chief Food Association, all the trade bodies also get involved. So, for example, the Chief Food Association is producing some curriculum resources that are used in schools to inspire children. The IFST, and you've got David over there from the Institute of Food Science and Technology, are also involved in this with their Students' Career Launchpad. We started last year, we're having some more this year to get students in university to have a career in the food and drink manufacturing sector. Also, the Education and Employees Task Force with Speakers for School and Inspiring Futures. So there's all sorts of things going on at the moment with leaders from industry talking about their jobs and career into schools. In terms of professional registers, Lee touched on some of them on the farming side, but the IFST and the Science Council has developed the suite of registration here. So you've got the chartered scientist, you've got the registered scientist, but a new one, the exciting one, they're all exciting as well, but this one is quite exciting because it's about technicians. Technician is a bit of a bizarre name, but it actually is quite a wide group of people that tend to be forgotten. They're not they're the layer just under the senior people. They're people, they're unsung heroes in the labs, the technical support people that actually need to have what they do recognized, and they can have comply with the code of conduct and have a formal CPD program as well. And David can tell you more about this, the IFSC stand. But it's a fascinating initiative for this group of people, these technicians, to be recognized and have a clear career path there. We touched on many times on CPD, but we've noticed that big time with our members, having a lot more formalized CPD programs. Quite a few of them are, I keep mentioning the IFST, but they're very involved in our sector. With the CPD scheme that the IFST has developed over the years. So instead of reinventing the wheel, you just piggyback on one that's proven. And obviously a lot of people are using our courses in publication and technical panel meetings. Also, we've seen a lot of the creation of a lot of academies within large corporate or smaller companies. They formalized the way they organize their training, looking at matrices of skills and competencies. And I think you mentioned it, David, when you're talking about Whitbread, when you're trying to map out what people are and where do you want them to be, and that's linked to their personal development plans and various learning management systems. So a lot of activities on this. We've also noticed a lot of activities on flexible training, the blended, the bite size, and some of them are credit rated as well, and the ATP would fit into that category here. I've already touched on the importance of hard and soft skills, but people tend to forget about the soft bit, and I think there's a debate within the ATP as well about whether to have some softer skills, leadership skills, because if you have people developing these leaders, you know, do you actually equip them to be to have the soft skills of being a leader when they go back to their business? We've also seen a lot of activities in benchmarking and sharing best practice, and people are being very open, very candid. And instead of reinventing the wheel within their business, they're actually quite happy to share what they're doing in terms of organizing their training, how they develop their skills matrices, how they put together their continuing professional development plan. So we have our own benchmarking activities going on at Camden, but you have to be aware that they improve. The Sector Skills Council have got 2 big initiatives starting on benchmarking practices across the industry, and also sharing best practice, defining the gold standard for every jobs in food and drink manufacturing, and trying to work out what is the best technical managers, what's the best attributes to be the best technical manager or in a particular sector. Touching on the ATP, we at the Camden BRI, we're involved in two of them. We're involved in the Reading one and the Nottingham one, so involved in the management committee of both. So we're very excited about these offerings, which actually complement the stuff that we do at Camden in terms of short courses and so on. I will finish off on my pet topic here. We just had a reshuffle in the cabinet as well. But we need to make sure that the government continue to consider the food and drink sector as a government economic priority. Because the food and drink industry has got a huge might, and people tend to forget it, especially at government level. And highest employing industry, nearly 4 million people, nearly 300,000 businesses, over 400 billion annual turnover, export 16 billion. So we are a force to be reckoned with, and we need to remind that all the time to government and make sure pushing things. We have two brand new ministers to work on. If you remember, Jim Pace and John Hayes used to get involved in some of the skills debate and get quite involved. We've got two new people now. We have David Heath, Liberal Democrat here. He raised pigs, so I think he's got a link to the agriculture side. And Matthew Hancock here on the skills side. So whenever you see them or if you're in discussion with them, make sure you push the food and drink industry as a key area. That's a quick